Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, I really want you to treat this like an exclusive university lecture. We're getting into what's officially known in the curriculum as Lesson 7, Negotiation Skills, Practice, and Business Benefits. Okay, let's dive into this, because look, whether you're trying to close a multi-million-dollar global procurement contract or you're just trying to navigate a complex partnership, the dynamics of the negotiating table, they're exactly the same. So grab a pen and prepare to take some mental notes.
Right here on screen is our source material for today, pulled straight from the official university curriculum for global procurement management. We're looking at the actual syllabus for topics 6 and 7, which really establishes the authoritative academic foundation of today's lesson. I mean, this isn't just someone's random opinion on how to haggle, right? These are the documented, structured principles taught to Master of Business Administration students to secure absolute world-class performance.
So, here's our syllabus for today's class. First up, welcome to Lesson 7. Second, the 2 core approaches. Third, choosing your strategy. Fourth, legal rules of engagement. And finally, authority and influence. Let's get to it.
All right, Section 1. Welcome to Lesson 7. Get ready, because we need to build a foundational understanding of what actually goes down at the negotiating table.
Before we can master the boardroom, we really need to define what's actually happening at the table. Officially, negotiation is defined as an interpersonal process where independent parties seek to exploit competitive advantages to achieve objectives and resolve barriers to agreement. I know, it's super dense, but the absolute most important words here are interpersonal process and interdependent. I want to emphasize this because it reminds us that negotiation isn't just some cold math problem to be solved. It's human behavior. You're interdependent, meaning you literally need the other party to get what you want, and they need you. You're working together to resolve barriers to an agreement.
Moving on to Section 2, the 2 core approaches. Time to unlearn the myth that every negotiation is a battlefield.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark psychological contrast between viewing the person sitting across from you as an adversary versus a collaborator. On one side, we have adversarial negotiation. This is your classic win-lose scenario, often called distributive negotiation. In this mindset, you strictly regard the other person as an opponent. But then consider the other side, collaborative negotiation. This is your win-win or integrative approach, where the other party is viewed as a collaborator. Just shifting that one internal label in your head, from adversary to collaborator, completely changes the dynamic of the room and how you communicate. And it really boils down to this quote: by means of creative problem solving, one or both parties can gain without the other having to lose. That's the core philosophy of the collaborative approach right there. When you view each other as collaborators, you become so much more willing to openly share concerns, ideas, and expectations. And honestly, that shared information is exactly what unlocks mutual gain. It's not about fighting over how to split a tiny pie, it's about figuring out how to bake a bigger one together.
Okay, Section 3, choosing your strategy. Think of this as the moment a business student has to choose their weapon before walking into the room.
So imagine you're standing right outside the meeting room door. You absolutely must choose your strategy before entering, because applying the wrong one, it can be disastrous. Let's walk through this table. An adversarial strategy actually has its place, right? It's highly appropriate for a quick, one-off deal where you really don't care about an ongoing relationship. It's also a necessary tactic to counter a highly domineering opponent, or if you just need a very quick solution to a disagreement. On the flip side, while those adversarial tactics give you fast, one-off solutions, collaborative strategies are built for stable, long-term relationships. They let you explore mutual opportunities and find creative solutions. The catch? Collaborative strategies are often much more time-consuming and difficult to achieve, especially if people are stubbornly holding out for concessions. But if you're looking for long-term value, it's absolutely the gold standard.
Shifting gears dramatically now to Section 4, legal rules of engagement, because, frankly, a great strategy means nothing if you don't know the rules of contract formation. So, the crucial point is that negotiations aren't just casual chats, you know? They have incredibly strict contractual boundaries. 2 massive legal frameworks you absolutely have to be aware of are the rules of offer and acceptance and regulations like the Misrepresentation Act of 1967. A professional negotiator has to deal effectively with these rules to avoid some seriously costly traps. Like, if you misrepresent a fact just to gain an edge, or if you accidentally legally accept terms you only meant to brainstorm about, yeah, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
And this brilliantly illustrates the life cycle of a deal. Under the rules of contract formation, it always starts with an offer. But pay attention here. The exact second a counteroffer is made, the entire power dynamic shifts. A counteroffer essentially kills the original offer dead, putting the seller in a totally new position. From there, the seller has 3 choices: accept the new counteroffer in full, reject it entirely, or volley back with a brand new counteroffer of their own. Understanding exactly where you are in this 3-step dance is absolutely vital if you want to keep legal control of the negotiation.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Authority and Influence. Let's look at the actual people wielding these legal and strategic tools.
You know, if you watch amateurs negotiate in the movies, they're always snapping back with these quick, spontaneous, witty remarks. But in reality, the curriculum points out that there are 5 sets of conditions that prevent professional negotiators from responding spontaneously to their counterpart. Managing this process takes immense discipline. Real pros do not just react on instinct. Their responses are highly calculated, constrained by internal company policies, strict legal boundaries, and the very specific strategic goals they walked into the room with.
Let's move to and see how this builds directly into the concept of status. The source material highlights a fascinating rule. The more complex and open-ended the negotiations, the greater the status of the negotiators should be. In any high-stakes situation, you only have limited methods to actually influence the other party. You have to concentrate on those limited methods and crucially recognize which ones your opponent is deploying based on their status and authority. If a negotiation is incredibly complex and you send in a junior representative who doesn't have the proper authority to make fluid decisions, that is going to instantly stall the whole process.
Which brings us to the end of our masterclass. But before you go, I want to leave you with a provocative question to really think about. When you step up to the table in your own life, what is your default negotiating style? Are you naturally adversarial or collaborative? And more importantly, the next time you volley back a demand, are you actually prepared for the legal consequences of your counteroffer? Evaluating your real-world tactics through the lens of Lesson 7 is what's going to elevate you from just a participant to a true master negotiator. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you next time.